Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this unique live audio conversation on this fine Giving Tuesday afternoon. My name is Calvin Marty. I'm from Best Intentions, among other places. And today, no reason to look at your screen while listening if you don't want to, although there will be live chat available and some links thrown up in there. We've got some visual treats courtesy of Best Intentions. Christopher Marty's design there, trying to recreate a little bit of that feel some of you recognize. So pop in some headphones, turn up your computer audio, crank up your Bluetooth speaks or whatever you use, wash some dishes, lie down, sit down, do some sit-ups. Just do you, and we'll stay out of it. So let's, today I'm going to be talking with Kristina Magro and Matt Kohl of support staff. I want to give you a little background on all of us before we begin, and then we'll get them in the chat. So my name is Calvin Marty. I was born in the Chicago area, spent half my childhood in Wisconsin, came to the city of Chicago to get my BFA in acting from DePaul, and I've worked as a bartender in Chicago since 2002, while also pursuing jobs as an actor, voice actor, musician, and songwriter. You know the drill. Artists in the hospitality industry. Bartended at such bars as Matilda, Tavernita, Lux Bar, and now Best Intentions, which I opened with my brother Chris Marty and financial partners in 2015. Kristina Magro was born in Chicago, traveled around as a child, eventually landing in the southwest suburbs. Shortly after turning 21, she moved back to the city to grow her hospitality career. Most recently, she led the team as bar manager of critically and nationally acclaimed cocktail bar Prairie School in the West Loop. Before that, she ran another critically acclaimed establishment, Pub Royale, a friendly Indian food-focused restaurant with an extensive beer list. For the past 6 years, she's been an integral part of the Heisler hospitality family, working at Sportsman's Club, helping to open Pub Royale, Queen Mary, and Asterio. She is now general manager of Lone Wolf. She's currently focusing her energy on mentorship, her nonprofit support staff that focuses on mental health awareness and building a community in and outside of the food and beverage industry. Matt Kohl is originally from Florida, moved to Chicago when he was 28. Using the skills and knowledge he acquired while cooking in Tallahassee, he dove right into the Chicago culinary scene, as a lot of us know. After working at beloved Chicago Spanish cuisine-inspired restaurant Bombola, Matt took over as chef de cuisine at Bar Marta. After Bar Marta's closing, he moved to New Orleans, where he worked as the sous chef at the famed Bacchanal, focusing on a different type of hospitality and learning from chef Joaquin Rodas, if I mispronounced his name. Matt can correct me when he comes on. Matt then returned to Chicago to help open Young American, and he is now focused on personal projects. So today's conversation is going to focus on Kristina and Matt's work with support staff, their nonprofit, which focuses on mental health and other issues affecting those in the hospitality industry, CompTab, their relief fund for hospitality professionals, and the key focus today will be CareTab, their self-care campaign in relation to Giving Tuesday. We'll also get some general talk about self-care and perhaps, if we can, take some questions from you in the live chat. So we're all new to this. Bear with us if we have any technical difficulties, but we should be okay. I'm going to bring Kristina and Matt on now. Are you there?
Hey, Cal.
Hello.
Hello. How do you like that for an intro, eh?
That was a really good one. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I feel like this is a collaboration here. I've just been messing around with audio for long enough. I happen to have some of the stuff.
Yeah, you guys can't see this, but I'm looking at Calvin's face right now over the Zoom video, and it's a lovely sight.
Hey, thanks. I didn't even put on any makeup today.
Oh, you don't need
you don't need any makeup.
Thanks. Kristina, how have you been? What are you up to?
Oh, just hanging out. We've been working on some stuff that we got going on, so just trying to get that going. but also just trying to take advantage of some of this free time that we have as well.
Yeah, it's a rare occurrence, especially for
Nice
those in
change
the
of pace.
hospitality industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt,
Taking
how are you
advantage
doing?
of this not grind.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm good. Same. Just working on some projects and trying to get some good rest in while I can, and stay safe and trying to keep myself healthy and focused.
Good, yeah. And from some of our conversations, you seem to be doing a great job of that. So you might have some advice for listeners later too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you want to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's dive in. Kristina, why don't you... Oh, do I still have you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Anyway, well, let's talk about support staff. Why don't you tell us what you guys do and what you're up to right now? Maybe a little history.
Sure. So, yeah, let me give you a little history. Support staff is a group of hospitality professionals within the industry. And we started a little over a year ago because, we've had a lot of loss in Chicago. And I think a lot of us started it out of a point of frustration, because when we talk about the buzzwords like sustainability, how do we even talk about sustainability until we talk about how we sustain ourselves as a whole within this industry? So throughout our adventure of the past year, we formulated our own 501c3 nonprofit, and it focuses on bridging the gap between mental health professionals and the food and beverage industry. But it's not just about mental health, it's also about other things that may affect the food and beverage industry, such as substance abuse, depression, addiction, things like that. So we started support staff, and then we always wanted to have a relief fund for the industry if they wanted to seek mental health or some form of help. We didn't want money to be a problem. So CompTab Relief Fund was always in our scope of things. But obviously with the pandemic, we realized that there was kind of a necessity that we needed to get this relief fund going sooner rather than later. So we started CompTab Relief Fund, and that relief fund is going to people who are often overlooked in a lot of these grant writing processes, people who can't necessarily receive governmental aid. So whether that be if you aren't a citizen or if you have some other kind of complication, those are the people that we are actively seeking for our relief fund. So besides our relief fund, because we don't want to constantly be asking our circle and the people that we love for money, we worked really, really hard on our website and curating a big group of resources. But I'm going to let Matt talk about his involvement with us and a little bit more about our website and the resources that we have to offer.
Okay, great.
Hey, everyone. So I got involved with support staff a little while ago. When I was living in New Orleans, Laura Kelton had reached out to me about this organization that she was co-starting with Magro and Moni, and asked me if I wanted to be involved with it, which I love everything about it and really, really love what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help our industry and, make it a safer and healthier and happier place for everyone to exist, and a more, everyone can be their best selves in this industry, because I feel like it brings so much joy to so many people, and it should be that way for all of us. So we've been working a lot with getting everything up and rolling, and we got our website out, which the link is up in the chat. It's pleasehustleresponsibly.org. And if you go to that front page, down at the bottom, you'll see we've got a map that is our community resources. In the left-hand corner of that community resources, the top left-hand corner, be a little menu tab, and it'll come out and it'll show the names of all of that. You'll see we've got it broken down by some of the different things that we found, ranging from mental health resources, art resources, food banks and meal kits, outpatient psychiatry, stuff that's more focused on people who have children. And then we also have stuff for COVID-19 resources, and it's all color coded so that you can easily access what you're looking for. We're trying to make this as easy as possible for you to get what you need. And then underneath of that, Matt, we've got a link to more resources, which we have a whole page broken down in a similar way with different categories of what resources that we've compiled for you. We've got stuff for, again, mental health, but we also got like activities like yoga and meditation, stuff for families and homes. We've got resources for undocumented employees. We're trying to get everything covered that we can. And in that same vein, we're looking for more resources that we can add to this. So if you've got something that you think would be a good fit for what we're trying to do, at the bottom of that page, there's a little thing where you can fill out and email us with resources that you've found help you with your mental health and your self-care.
That's fantastic. It's great. I think if we all engage with each other and share information, and partner together, we can get more done. Obviously, that collaboration is always productive. So I was looking at that form myself. What sort of partners are y'all working with right now already?
So we have a couple community partners, and I mean, one of which is Julieta Campos, and she has entered a Ming River cocktail competition, and you had to go through 3 different rounds. She's in the final round right now. Actually, go to Ming River Instagram and like her photo, because if she wins, she gets $3,000 donated straight to our relief fund to help people out.
Can you put that in the chat as well?
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
put that
absolutely.
in there. Yeah.
And actually, I just got news that she won.
Oh, wow.
She is the winner.
Hey-o, let's play a little music. Congratulations. Just a little roll up.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then a couple other community partners that we have, we're working with Green City Events. They are starting a t-shirt campaign, and they'll partner up with us, and a portion of the proceeds will go to us. We have a partner that's doing a cookbook as well. We have a couple other things coming down the pipeline, like a potential RTD with a local spirits company. So, nice. And we're currently aligned with Pilot Light Chefs as our 501c3 charity, and they are doing some great things as well. They are doing a program that's called Family Meal that is trying to highlight chefs and give them an opportunity to film themselves in the comfort of their own home so people can learn how to cook from them. And then they're writing grants to those chefs for their services. So I think we're just trying to actively widen our network to make sure that the people out there see our message and then be able to get the help that they need.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we've always had a strong community, so just looking for ways to support and build that more.
Do you know some people that are involved in Pilot Light? I'm just curious.
Some of the chefs involved would be like Jason Hamill from Lula. I believe Paul Kahn's involved.
So Jonathan Zaragoza is going to be doing something.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah. Their main priority is focusing on food education for the west and south sides for children, to teach them like the importance of cultivating and cooking your own food from a young age.
Yeah, they've been doing that work for a while, right? For a few years?
Yeah. They've been around for, I think, about 3 years. I think maybe a little bit longer. I could be wrong, but Yeah, they've
And-
been doing some great work. A lot of admirable chefs a part of that team for sure.
The link for Pilot Lights is up in the group chat too. If you want to go take a look at their website, they've got some great information there.
It seems like pre-pandemic they were doing a lot of work in schools themselves, right? Like classes and events and meals.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love the idea too of chefs teaching cooking from home as well. I was talking to Matt the other day. I texted him and was like, I got a pork chop and I don't know what to do with it. What should I do? And then
it's great, honestly. Like we've had this major interruption in our normal everyday life, so like being able to contribute in that way it feels like it brings like a sense of normalcy. Like it helps you feel the balance of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. I don't think I've ever cooked this much, like in my adult life, to be honest. It's really embarrassing, but that's facts.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know that many have talked about this, but it's still worth talking about again. It's really interesting cooking every meal you eat. And I feel like it makes you hungrier or something. Or maybe it's just the fact that you're home. I don't know. I feel like Sophia and I, my wife and I, are like, we've been making the Hobbit joke of like breakfast, second breakfast, 11sies. Not that, and that just, I guess, whatever that is, like, let's have a banana. But what?
You got to get 11sies in.
So it's ridiculous. And even just saying that, I'm lucky that I can have more than one meal a day. So it's good to focus on those who can't and helping them out. And yeah, a lot of people are experiencing having to cook for themselves for the first time and like not knowing what to do.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's been
at my
cool to
house,
see everyone doing their thing.
Absolutely. I was going to say over here, we just put an egg on everything.
Love it.
That's honestly been a lot of chef secrets for like years and years and years though. So you're tapping into something there.
Okay, great.
I've just tried to put garlic on everything.
That's another secret.
Of course.
Oh, so all right. What about what is this Giving Tuesday today? Because today is Giving Tuesday.
Yeah. So Giving Tuesday. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff. So just like you have Cyber Monday or Black Wednesday, Giving Tuesday is the day that shines a light on what nonprofits are doing. So typically, this day is a huge push to gain donations for your cause. But obviously, what we're doing is a little unique in the fact that a lot of our brothers and sisters out there, they don't have money to give, and we're not asking for their money. So we were trying to think of what would be a good way to still raise attention to what we were trying to do, but not really asking any of our close circles or our hospitality family for money. So we came up with our Giving Tuesday campaign, which is called CompTab, and it's essentially like, what have you done to put on your care tab? Like, what are the self-care things that you have taken this time to reprioritize in your life, whether that be cooking more or reading more or playing an instrument or doing something that you just really didn't have time to do when you were working so much. So that's what we're trying to do today, is kind of shine a light on self-care. And yes, this pandemic and the uncertainty is stressful, but what are you doing to kind of keep your mental health in check and make sure that you stay balanced?
I love that. That's fantastic. And we've all... Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, it can be, it's anything that's helping you feel, grounded and secure, like whatever is bringing you some kind of happiness. Like I know Magro has been doing a lot of stuff with plants and propagating plants, and I've been working on a bunch of like different doughs and stuff like that, and just things that are making us feel happy and providing things to do throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting. I feel like I've gone through phases of needing a very active mind and then the complete opposite, and I think both are important. And without work, you're kind of forced to come into direct contact with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And how it works and what it needs and what it doesn't need. And that changes, those different times. It's easier when you're working, between 40 and 60 hours a week. Even if you're working 20 hours a week, whatever you got, your life is broken up into work and not work. So you kind of fall in naturally into, oh, I need to do laundry, and I really need to just relax for an hour, read a book. But when you're sitting there stressed out about the future, worried about money, worried about your next meal, and then also, what do I do with my time? It's harder.
Yeah, it's like going from a fully scheduled lifestyle to like having an inordinate amount of free time.
Yeah. But it's free time. I've thought a lot about, if I would have thought into the future and thought, oh, I'm going to not work for, 2 months. I would have thought, oh, I know how I'll spend that time. That'll be amazing. But when you add on the stress and the grieving, and the fear, it's harder to enjoy that time. So, plants for you, Magro.
So many plants. Yep. But okay, to be fair, I think that plants are, so like Matt said, we've been propagating plants. So then when this whole thing's over, we can have a propagation party where all of our friends safely like drop off their propagated plant. We do like a plant swap. So it's like you give somebody something that you've taken care of, and now it's like their thing. So there's a little piece of you like in their home now.
I love it.
And we've talked about this propagation party forever, and then the obviously the pandemic happened. So now we're very prepared. We have lots of little babies.
Plant babies.
Little plant babies.
Plant babies, bread babies, dough babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been figuring out how to make ice cream. I was telling Matt that the other day.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, small things. Finally, like reading books that I was supposed to like years ago.
Yeah. A whole bookshelf full of like unread things. Like it's
Yep. I know that. Go ahead.
What have you been doing, Calvin?
Oh, I've been all over. I'm kind of a project guy anyway. I really like making things. I write and play music, so I've been playing the piano, and I've never taken piano lessons, but I did grow up fortunate enough to have a piano in my house. We just couldn't afford lessons. So I, over the years, have like figured out a little bit, but it was interesting over this time. I went in deep and would just put on headphones and play my keyboard for hours at night. And it's been great. Some things have started to click. My left hand's working better. Now I'm like, I should take some lessons because I think I would kind of fall in better. But so I've been writing and recording some music, and doing a little bit of other writing. I've read poetry, which I never do.
Why are you laughing? I love poetry.
Oh, me too. But I just like, in college, I was lucky enough to go to an acting school, and we read Shakespeare and read poetry. And it's just been so many years. I realized, wow, why don't I do this more often? It's really satisfying. It's a shorter commitment. You can kind of live in a space of one or two poems for a while. And early on in the lockdown, I really found poetry comforting, and that was nice. I did read some Shakespeare before bed a couple weeks ago. I hadn't done that in a while. Went right to sleep.
What do you mean? Which one?
I went back to Hamlet because I wanted something I kind of knew and wasn't gonna have to look up a bunch of words and struggle, you know. And that's probably the one I read most in college, but really, really dark stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, self-care is always a combination of, and I don't want to take this to a dark place, but like living a bit in the dark emotions, because I think you got to, and then finding your way back out. So I like to, it's like listening to a sad song when you're feeling sad. And then,
Sure.
you know, it's kind of a salve, and then you slap on something happy.
Well, everyone's self-care is their own thing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's not stuck to like one kind of care. It can be literally anything as long as it's helping you.
For sure. What about you, man?
Me, like I said, I've been doing a bunch of dough work. So I've been working on my pasta dough and trying to make some new shapes. Orchetti has been really, really, really troublesome for me. So
What
trying
is
to get
that?
that going. Orchetti, it means little ear. It's like the little cup-shaped ones. They're like maybe nickel or dime sized, and they're pretty small, and they seem like they might be pretty easy to make, especially when you're watching pasta grannies on YouTube. But they're pretty intricate and not as easy, especially when you have giant hands. And
I've
so
always loved your giant hands.
Oh, well, thank you. But it's been fun to try and like get in there and figure it out. Especially because I can't sit next to someone and have them really teach me. So it's been kind of doing a bunch of my own research and trying to figure that out. And other than that, I've been riding my bike a lot, which has been great. Getting out there and being active and riding around and seeing friends and saying hello from 6 feet apart.
Yep, love it.
Yeah, which is nice. But as we talked about earlier, like it's weird to go say hello to someone and see your friends, but not be able to give them a hug or a high five. And,
Oh yeah, it's hard.
yeah.
And
but seeing friendly faces is great.
Yeah, even just being a little closer and see,
Mm-hmm.
the video chat is great, but you do miss that like natural constant flow of physical language,
Mm-hmm.
micro facial expressions, Big on micro facial expressions.
My humor doesn't translate digitally, so I'm gonna be ready when this is done.
Yeah, you need that. You need that Magro look, that stare, that like, yeah. Well, it just translated now, so you killed it.
Thank you.
Oh, that's phenomenal. So with CompTab, what can we do? How can we? I mean, it's today, right? Is it going past today, or?
So it's just today. Today's the day. We were just hoping to hear from our industry people, our industry family out there, just to raise some positivity in this climate, and just hear what people are doing for themselves and what really helps them. And what brings them joy. And if you're outside of our industry and have the ability to donate or are willing to donate, then we have a GoFundMe on our website, which we put in the live feed, and I can also post later. And
Awesome.
If you'd like to donate, that would be great. But if not, let us know what you're doing.
I love it.
Yeah, our Instagram handle, I'll put this in here again, but go online and share what you're doing and tag us in it, and just get it out there. And I mean, everybody's got different projects, and we'd love to see what you're doing.
Yeah, and if you want, throw some, just for the sake of this conversation too, feel free to throw some things in the chat that you're doing that we could. I mean, I guess everyone could see the chat, but then we can talk about it.
We got a nice question here.
Yeah, let's Taylor Hansen put a question in. You want to read that out and start it off?
Sure. There's a question for all three of you lovely people. Thank you, Taylor. If y'all see this, in taking on hobbies and projects, learning new skills, have you been splitting time between projects that are professionally development versus simple enjoyment in terms of maintaining sanity, mental health? What would you suggest people focus on or how to split their time? That's a great question, Taylor.
It is a great question.
I think
It is.
well, I'll answer the first half. I have been trying actively to split my time between this support staff and CompTab campaign and my life. So, but I've also been taking online business courses from Cornell University because they have offered free management and public relation courses regarding this current pandemic and kind of how to become prepared for what the environment's going to look like in the future. So as a general manager in like mid-management, I don't have much control over my situation, but taking these classes and gaining knowledge about what the future might look like from that point of view has brought me peace. So at least I'm informed. So that is how I've also been like reading books that I said that I was going to, and things that I just haven't really had the time to do while working a whole lot and being a general manager of a place. So I think that's a great question. But to answer your second question, in terms of maintaining sanity, mental health, what would you suggest people focus on and how to split their time? Well, just like we said before, you know, mental health isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. So what works for me might not work for you or the person next to you. But what I could suggest is to find something that does work for you, that brings you peace, that helps you shut off your mind, whether that be going on a bike ride, planting some flowers, reading a book, whatever that may be. I just say, especially like in this time, try to find balance in those two things, because what people really haven't been talking about, but what I've realized is in quarantine, there really are no days off, and people are working at all hours of the night. So I feel like it's really important to be conscious of the time that you're delegating to work, if you are still working, and then how to maintain that balance, and then also kind of form boundaries of which you can still have. Because if you are a 9 to 5, you went from having a weekend to not, and then being done, you know, after you clock out, to now, you know, not really having those structural forms of accountability. So it's really easy to kind of get lost up in work because you can just sit there and do it. So I don't really have a pointed answer. I think it's really important to find what works for you, and to just make sure that, like, although this whole situation is extremely overwhelming, it's really important to talk this out with the people around you and kind of look for resources, and also know that you are not alone, that there are several millions of people feeling the same way that you do, and there's people out there who are here to help and want to assist you in any way possible. But I'll let Matt and Calvin kind of say what they've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of crushed that question, Max.
Yeah, you
like
did.
It's you know, as far as like the balance between like a fun hobby and work hobbies, like I've found a good mixture of both, and I think that the work hobbies help me fill that void of like what my 40 to 60 hours a week of work are. You know, like it helps me feel like I'm very like normal and keeping everything in a normal state. But I could also, you know, completely understand if people didn't want to worry about work-based activities because it made them feel, you know, bad about missing out on work or like not being able to do that. So I think whatever balance works the best for you is is what your answer is going to be.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think it's, for me, I've found it's changed over time. I've had a harder time like relaxing, or I don't know. Everyone experiences it different, and like many have been saying, it's all okay whether you deal with this by shutting down for a while or you deal with this by busying yourself. Find it. I think over time you find a slightly better balance, and I have found that creating a schedule. There are things I want to spend my time on, whether it's I'm also just started taking a class through Coursera. And it's just something I've always been interested in, but never pursued. And, I always thought maybe I would get into psychology instead of bartending. Started thinking about that 10 years ago, just never did it. So I'm taking just an intro to psych class from a guy that I've read and listened to named Paul Bloom from Yale. I've heard him on some podcasts and just always liked him and his perspectives. So it's just some of you out there have probably already taken that class. I never did. I went to a specialized like acting school and missed out on a bunch of cool stuff. So I'll like schedule out like, okay, I'm going to wake up, and I am waking up lovely so much earlier. It's really nice. So I'll wake up at, 8:30, 9 a.m., have a coffee, try to plan my day. Like, okay, I'm going to spend an hour on this class. Then I'm going to, check in with my brother, work on getting our GoFundMe money to our staff. Then I'm gonna eat lunch. Then, sometimes just making a list or a schedule will help. And I'll try to have like an end time. Like when it hits 5 o'clock, I'm done. I'm done worrying about, am I being productive? So, and I also give myself the, days off too. But I have personally had trouble relaxing, like letting myself enjoy the time.
Same. And I've like tried to figure it out. And I think it's because I associated a lot of like my self-worth with my job and the things that I would accomplish on a daily basis.
Right.
So when I'm like, can't be the Energizer bunny and like stack my plate really full, I like get extreme anxiety. So I just like find myself having a very hard time relaxing because I feel like I should be doing more.
Yeah, that's that should thing that we battle our whole lives, but it's really present right now. What should I be doing? It's
hard to like focus on yourself and relax and ask other people for help when you've been working in an industry for so many hours a week that is focused on just giving of yourself to everyone. So how do you expect to just have everything taken away and then just be like, all right, well, I'm going to sit on the couch for the entire day, and when you're used to just constantly going and giving and giving and giving. So
yeah,
it's important to be able to give to yourself too.
And I think that brings up an important thing.
Said.
What's that?
I just well said.
Yeah, very well said. And I think that we're learning about balance here, but I think, Magro, you and I were talking about this a few days ago, but I think that we're all being confronted with the imbalance of our normal daily lives, and I'm hoping that we all can reprioritize in the future. And maybe working 60 hours in America is not the right thing for all of us. Maybe going down to a normal amount of work, but in any industry, maybe rebalancing family and work and self-care and work. And maybe that's, I've always thought that anyway, easier for some people than others. But I'm wondering if post-COVID, whenever that time is, if it is, that maybe as a race, as a human race, we might reevaluate. Some countries are further along, and that can go all the way into policy, and we no need to talk about politics. But I've been thinking a lot about that for myself and hoping for everyone else too, that maybe when we get back to work, we can get back to work in a different way.
Oh, and that kind of cycles back to, what Magro was saying about sustainability,
Right.
and how to keep that focus on sustainability also on ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, and I would really like to hope that this pandemic has shined a light on a lot of things within this industry that we need to change to make it better for ourselves in the long run and to make it more sustainable for us to continue to remain in this industry as well.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Matt, you have a lot to say about that, especially from a back of house perspective.
Yeah, I mean, especially just, with just that as a topic, just sustainability, we look at burnout and all of that, and working so much and so hard, especially, working in a kitchen in front of a bunch of burners. It's hot, 10, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, however much. And, it's wearing physically and mentally. It's, on the front of house side, you're dealing with a bunch of different personalities coming at you, wanting different things, which, is emotionally taxing and mentally and physically. It's a tiring job, but it's something that we all love and that we love to do because it's our form of creativity and our form of just like of how we exist and do things. But I think it's just important that we focus on how to make ourselves happy in the long run too, and provide, like Magro was saying earlier, just focusing on boundaries for ourselves. I used to work with this girl, Natalie, and she would constantly say that boundaries are a form of love. And I agree with that.
Nice.
100%, because, building those allows you to keep away from the burnout, prevents you from like resenting what you're doing.
Right. That's huge. The resenting thing. I mean, I've been in a wonderful and privileged position. My brother and I have been very lucky and blessed, if you like to use that term, with our success at Best Intentions. And I would still find myself resenting what I had or what I was doing, even while everyone else is like, "Oh my God, I would love what you're doing." And we burned ourselves out hard in the first 3 years. And I watched us get really tired, and I watched staff members get burnt out. And yeah, it's dangerous, and you don't want to resent the thing you do that you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find a way to rebalance, whatever that is. If you can afford to work one fewer shift, and if you don't mind being a little tangential here, I think I've realized I can live on less money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why work so much? That's a choice, but you could make the choice to change your habits, make less money, and be a little more mentally healthy.
Yeah.
If you can.
Absolutely.
You might also not be able to make that choice. Maybe you have a large family you're taking care of. Maybe you are mired in $100,000 in debt. I mean, everyone's situation is different, but it's worth looking at.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's about building the balance that works for you.
Sure.
And maybe if you don't have the luxury of taking an additional day off of work or something like that, it could be just as simple as taking 15 to 20 minutes to drink your coffee alone and sit in silence. Yeah. Or not look at social media and just prepare for the day, or read the paper, or listen to a podcast, or do something like that. Like, if you don't have the ability to take an entire day, you can still find like these moments in time for yourself to improve like your mental state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that involves a certain amount of flexibility with yourself. If you want to get up a little bit earlier and have that 15 minutes for coffee every day, do that. But don't be mad at yourself if one day you want to sleep in for the extra 15 minutes. and have
Right.
that time too.
Yep.
Exactly.
I've talked to a couple of you. Well, definitely you, Matt. I don't know if we've talked about this, Kristina, but I've really gotten into meditation over the last year and a half of my life, and I've found it really helpful. I've also found that if I do it too much, it can have a negative effect, which I didn't know was possible. But I found it really helpful in a lot of ways. Do you two have experience with that? And also, you've mentioned that there's some meditation resources on the website and maybe some partners. Do you want to speak to any of that? I'm someone who's interested in meditation, so I'm forcing it on this conversation.
No, it's great. We have meditation resources on there. It's a lot of free apps and guided meditations. Once we can get up and running and go to the gym again, we have a couple partnerships with some yoga studios.
Awesome.
So that's good. For me, to be 100% honest, I have taken this pandemic time to practice what I preach and find a therapist.
Nice.
And he has actually recommended meditation for me because I do not prefer to take medication. So he suggested me meditating in the beginning of the night and in the beginning of the morning and right before I go to bed, because I have a lot of anxiety. And it has definitely, I can definitely see a pattern when I do it consecutively versus when I fall off.
Yeah, me too.
But something that you said that I wanted to ask you about is, what are the negative effects when you meditate too much?
They're really, for me, hard to explain, and I'm still kind of exploring it. The guide that I use, Sam Harris, and his Waking Up app, it was interesting. Right when I started to experience, and I'll get to what they are, experience these quote unquote negative effects, he released a conversation with two researchers about those possible negative effects, the whole too much of a good thing. For me, it was, I started to go longer and longer and really deeper in a good way for a while. And I don't want this to scare anyone away from meditation, because the positives, I do believe, outweigh the negatives. Not for everyone. There are certain disclaimers, like, if you're someone more prone to a quote unquote psychological break or disassociative behavior or thoughts, it could be negative. But anyway, for me, positive for a year. And then I was doing like 20 to 40 minutes a day. I started to, especially with this certain type of meditation, it's examining the self and the existence of the self and whether or not it is an illusion. And I started to walk through my day questioning the nature of my reality, to quote Westworld. But I really did start to be like, am I in a simulation? Is this real? Am I imagining everything? And it got to a point where I was like, I need a break. I just need a break, and I need to be back in the physical world, interacting more. And that's finding balance too, introspection and the study of your own mind, and then also interacting with other humans. I think both are important.
Well, I also think you brought up a good point, is when people do find things that work for them, whether that be like exercise or meditation, sometimes we swing the pendulum a little too far. So it is really important, and I'm happy that you shared that sometimes when we do find like a valve or a coping mechanism, we kind of push that to the limit, and it becomes less of a self-care thing and more of a dependency.
Sure.
Or you're kind of like replacing one thing with the other,
Yeah. Right. But I think that, and this is a guess, but I wonder if I would have ever noticed something like that in myself without meditation in the first place. Because the thing that people don't realize too much about meditation is that it's mostly just paying attention and directing your attention, and the ability to notice a reaction in yourself as it happens. So that's why I recommended just the act of, being able to feel anger coming up in you as it's happening and recognize what it is without succumbing to it is a huge thing. And for any emotional reaction or thought based thing.
And even if you're giving it a try, I mean, what's the harm in sitting still for 10 to 15 minutes and focusing on your breathing?
Absolutely. And for some, yoga is, they're very linked. So for some, yoga works better, being in your body in that way, or working out, like you said. But yeah, you can work out too hard to injure yourself. Awesome. You guys work with, I don't know her very well. Is her name Laura?
Yes.
Laura Green.
Yeah.
Laura Green's incredible. Laura Green and DJ Watson. Yeah. Laura Green and DJ Watson are our two current mental health care professionals on our support staff team. So especially throughout this whole situation, we've had a lot of people really wanting to use them as a resource. So we've had a couple other nonprofits utilize their platforms to put them on there. Laura Green's doing some great work.
Laura Green.
Laura Green. She has a survey right now that we're putting up on the website. You can also find it through her Instagram, which is Healthy Poor. But this is a survey. If any industry people are out there and have a moment to take it, we are actively trying to generate data for our food and beverage industry because there is not much out there. So in order to, create legitimate case studies and things like that, we need data and we need opinions and we need people's true answers. So she's been actively working on that while simultaneously working with the Tales of the Cocktail mental health platform as well. So she's a very busy lady. DJ Watson is currently practicing. He focuses on family and child care. And then if you don't mind, can I just talk about who all of the members of support staff are?
Please. Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So we got Laura.
This is your show, Max.
No, it's your show, Calvin. They're on the mental health side. And then we have Matt Kohl, which is amazing. We have Kristina Veltri, who works at Monteverde. We have Sarah Hill. She is amazing. She's been creating all of our language via social media. She has done our rebranding. She is an incredible asset, and I'm very, very grateful for her. We have Julieta Campos, who is just a new member of our team. Who am I missing somebody, Matt?
I mean,
Laura Kelton and Moni Bunny, obviously.
Just the founders,
Yeah. Moni Bunny, Laura Kelton, and myself. And we are actively looking for volunteers and anybody who wants to get involved or help us spread our message. But I just want to take this moment. If anyone on the squad is listening, I really appreciate all the hard work you've been doing, actively trying to get this thing going. And we wouldn't be able to do it without you. Appreciate y'all.
It's a really incredible group of people, and I consider myself very lucky to be able to work with all of them.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys are doing incredible work, and it's hard. And what I like is that you're making really smart partnerships, and that's something I've struggled with in my life is just on a personal level, is realizing you pretty much can't do anything alone. You can meditate alone, but we're working with other people is huge, and why not utilize someone else's strengths, where you lack, and vice versa. That's what collaboration is for. So
Exactly.
yeah, I've heard so much about. I haven't heard much about DJ Watson. I'll have to look into him as a human, but I've heard so much about Laura Green, and so many people have told me, "Oh, you guys got to talk. You would have so much to talk about." And her name is always stuck in my brain. So,
Well,
yeah.
if you want me to introduce you to, I got you.
I would love that. And David Moore just commented, "Incredible team of humans," and that's for sure. If anyone wants, it is 2:58, but there is no, actual time limit. We thought we'd go for an hour. We could keep going.
Somebody asked you a question, Calvin.
Oh, yeah.
Rodrigo did.
I saw that, Rodrigo, and thank you. And we have thought about that. The issue is copyright. Like, we'd love to just stream live and publicly Best Intentions playlists, but we're not working under it's a different license than opening a bar, and the one we usually pay to ASCAP and BMI to play music in a bar, just like it's a different license, for a live venue and live performances. So we actually have been looking into that. We do want to host something like that. And yeah, I'm really interested in Best Intentions kind of still being able to provide some sort of quote unquote party or fun. So we'll let you know.
The background.
Yeah.
Kelvin, I just keep making jokes about when this is all over, and I'm like, I hope Best Intentions is ready.
I know. Well, listen, for anyone wondering, including our own staff, we'll be in more contact when things get closer. But my brother and I we are planning on surviving this. That's the goal. And there are a lot of different ideas about how to do that as a business. We're playing it conservatively. We don't want to be a part of any, re-flare up of it. We don't want to be Best Intentions, as we were talking about this, Magro, as many bars, Lone Wolf, in your case, the business model is based on packing the room. It's based on numbers. We can fit 12 people socially distanced in the main room of Best Intentions safely, and then the considerations are getting to the bathroom. You can't have that long summer bathroom line. So it's hard. We're thinking about a lot of things, but we plan on surviving this. There are things that could happen and not happen that could affect it. We've had a hard time, like many businesses, with these SBA loans and the changing information. And so we're working on it. We're going to try to be there. And yeah,
that's good.
Emily just mentioned I'll just have to provide all the music via keyboard, which I could. It just might be a little less energetic. But I did write that instrumental song you've been hearing in the background, so I could just play that over and over and over.
Yeah, just release the greatest hits. Just what is it? Video Game Bruce?
Video Game Bruce is this theme I've been using because I feel like it's a Bruce Springsteen type beat. And little video game synth sounds. Andrew Prazik says, "We ain't ready. It's fine." And yeah, I do think that everybody needs to be cautious and scared. There's gonna be a way to open bars that will not work. There's gonna be a way that'll work. I think we're gonna have to help each other and say, hey, I'm trying this. It's not working. These are the problems I'm encountering. What's working for you?
I love that.
I really like what, some places have been doing delivery, and a lot of places have been doing delivery. I like what Bar Biscay has been doing. I feel like they've done a really nice transition.
The grocery program?
Yeah, I think that's cool. I don't know. I haven't talked to Scott and Sari. I don't know how it's going financially for them. It's a hard thing to make a
There's
living
a couple
on.
places, like Spinning Jay is doing that also, and a couple places are transitioning to that. Rootstock is starting like a CSA program as well.
Just heard about that today. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great.
What's CSA? What does that mean?
They're basically they're providing bags of like of goodies and farm goodies and stuff that are from like local farms. I think they're using.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so like I signed up for one from Green Acres, Indiana, and I'll be picking it up at Middlebrow Bungalow tomorrow. But there's a bunch of different farms that would normally be relying on Green City Market specifically to like be selling a lot of their farm goods right now. So They have all of their crops ready and no place to go. Well, not no place, but less places to go to. So I know Tanya's organizing that, and you can basically buy a bag of fresh produce and stuff and just walk in, grab it, maybe grab a burger and a bottle of wine and head home.
That's phenomenal.
Kelvin, how many people have asked you to start delivering those delicious little baby burgers?
Oh man.
Delicious baby what?
The baby burgers.
Oh.
Baby burgers.
Oh, baby burgers. A few, not as many as I would think. But you know what? I've been kind of quiet throughout this. I do apologize if Best Intentions and me personally have been kind of quiet, but whatever, that's what happened. But
yeah.
But that's what happened to my brain. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice to get a sack of those burgers right now. I know Chef Brian is chomping at the bit. He misses work a lot. You know, I don't know where we're going, but I wanted to make sure you mentioned something to me, Kristina, the other day about like, I don't think like going back to work, not going back to work. I'm not going to be the same person.
No.
And I would love to hear more or talk about that quickly, because I've been feeling the same way. Like I don't feel like I can go back the same person.
So like as someone who has like obnoxiously grinded, I feel like for the past 10 years and like have intentionally like stacked my plate and worked very hard. This quarantine has really given me some time to reprioritize like the things that are important to me in my life that I really haven't had time to even consider because I kind of got caught up in like the grind and the rat race of it all. So
yeah,
I've been having like this strange, almost like anxiety about returning to work because I don't feel like I am returning to work the same person as who left on March 15th. Like I have now reprioritized the thing. Like for example, you know, just getting up and not looking at my phone for like the first 2 hours, like taking more time to, you know, focus on like myself. Cause before I would get up, shower, immediately start answering emails, rush to work, be there all day, and then like get up and do it all over again. And I feel like returning to work now, I really like, I have to be true to myself about like setting boundaries and like what is important to me, and working like I did before is no longer important to me, and I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, I feel you.
So
I know.
I'm a little nervous, to be honest, that like the people who've known me for, you know, the past decade are going to be like, well, you know, what happened to Magro? And it's like, she dead. Like, I'm actually sleeping now. You know, I don't know. Like,
Magro, do you think that you found like new activities that are going to take place of certain things that you used to do?
So, I mean, I wish that I like had something cool to say, but like, in this time, I like actually get to see my significant other, and we had really weird schedules and we didn't get to see each other before. So I'm just like I'm enjoying like spending time with someone and getting to like actually know someone and just be able to like take more time for myself, because I feel like for me, I touched on this before, like I feel satisfied and gratified and self-worth with the amount of which I work. So
Yeah.
I need to find my self-worth in other avenues.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, like, you know, in yourself.
Yeah.
well, exactly, because, you know, it's like all this, it all happens and you're kind of just left with like, oh shit, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man. But I am a little nervous about, you know, what returning that looks like, and I am weary about not being the same person, but I feel like that's life and that's growth, and that's I'm genuinely hoping that I'm not the only one, and that a lot of people have gained perspective and like in turn consequently live healthier lifestyles. Because I feel like if I kept up at the rate I was going, I'm probably going to die of a heart attack in like 10 years.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel
Yeah,
that.
let's prolong that.
Yeah, let's make it at least 15. You know?
Way more than 15, okay? Well, and listen, this is why this is why support staff exists. But,
Yeah.
you know, and there have been a lot of tragic endings. And there have also just been people being like, I'm out. Some really great people that are done. The burnout rate, as you were saying, is awful. So there has to be a more sustainable way. I feel that too. I feel a great amount of fear and anxiety when I think about reopening. I'm scared of doing it wrong. I'm scared of, you know, I want everyone to feel safe, and I want to feel safe. We were talking about that, like as leaders in the community too. I mean, if the leader doesn't feel comfortable going in, I mean, what the hell? So
Yeah.
we have to.
And like as the fearless leader, I don't want to like guide my team into anything that will potentially harm them.
Well, I think we should demolish the phrase fearless leader. That title should just leave the English language, because I don't think it exists.
Well, yeah, and if it does, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's very
true.
It's called Napoleon.
Okay.
Let's not follow that guy. I'm sure there are some other fearless leaders we could bring up, but
yeah.
I think we have one right now as the president. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's coming back the same person, and I don't think the world is the same. I think if every bar and restaurant opened up tomorrow at full capacity, they wouldn't hit full capacity. I could be wrong, but
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a large population of people that are you know, terrified to go outside, as much as what we see on the news is people standing in front of government buildings trying to reopen. There's numerous more that are patiently waiting for this to end.
Yeah, and as much as we all need and want to get back to work, I do think as a community, we should realize that we should try to help as much as we can, do this in a smart way for the public as well. We can encourage all sorts of behavior.
Yeah.
Let's pick the good kind, you know?
Absolutely.
Oh, these crazy times. I'm glad, you know, there are a lot of silver linings here, and one of them is that we're having this conversation.
100%.
People are having, you know, thinking about this. I've always, you know, thought I was lazy because I didn't want to work. As you know, I burnt myself out. Started bartending at 21 and started thinking about getting out at 27 and stayed in and then opened a bar. And then the first 3 years were crazy. And then I like just got tired and grumpy. You saw me go through some dark times. I've seen you go through some dark times, both of you. I was kind of already feeling this need for balance, but I was so self-conscious about, do I seem lazy? Do I seem like I don't care? I must not be good enough because I don't want to work 70 hours a week ever again. I was already feeling that before this happened.
Yeah, and that's a lot of like, you know, what we were taught as we were coming up in this industry is this old guard of people that are like, I work 60, 80, 90 hours a week, and that's what it takes to exceed and be successful in this industry. And I think it's just unhealthy because we're operating on standards of like not taking any time for yourself and constantly giving up your personal time, your free time, interactions with family, struggling relationships, and the focus is on what you're doing for the place that you work at. And it's like, that's great that it's important to be passionate about what you're doing and care about what you're doing and care about the experience that you're providing for people, but that also you're providing experience for the people that you work with as well. And it can't all just be this like old world grind yourself into the dirt. There's got to be something left over for you at the end.
Right. This makes me think of Magro. Remember when I wanted to do a live book report with you guys?
Yes.
Never did that, but the book still
I still want to do it. No, I still want to do it.
Okay,
though.
let's do it. But the book, I'm just going to throw it out for anyone who's listening, is Lost Connections by Johann Hari. And I think I posted that on Facebook once and got a lot of hits too, people that have read it or wanted to. I'm sure some people listening have read it. If not, I highly recommend it. He's a journalist who's suffered from depression since a very young age and decided to go on this 3-year quest to kind of figure out why. It was a self-discovery quest, why am I depressed and why do my antidepressants no longer work or whatever, which is one of the things. But he talked to a lot of different researchers, cites a bunch of studies, and also interviews a bunch of people. But what I got out of it is and I'm not an expert on this at all. I'm interested in maybe going to school for it, but a lot of the rhetoric around depression in particular, but also other mental and emotional issues has been, it's inside of you. It's a thing inside of your brain. It's a thing that we need to fix. And while I'm a big believer in therapy, and went to therapy for years, and antidepressants work for some people, what he says in his book is there are a shit ton of external environmental factors that have increased depression in our society that we're not paying attention to. And he cites a lack of meaningful work or meaning in one's work, a lack of community or isolation, which we're experiencing now, just living in a big city and not saying hi to your neighbor. It's an incredible book, and it really kind of opened my mind to, those of us who suffer from anxiety, depression, etc. We often just blame ourselves. But
will you throw that in the chat side?
Yes.
Thank you.
There are a lot of things that are not in our control, seemingly, or at least to change them would not be quick, that have been developed in our society over a really long period of time. Corporate structure, the way that we obsess over work in our country, the way that work and quote unquote success is prioritized and turned into this dream thing. We're kind of stuck on this idea of the American dream that may or may not be possible. I'm going off on a tangent, but the point is, it's not necessarily all a chemical issue in your brain, and it's not necessarily a thing you can just correct by meditating or going to therapy, it might take a change in lifestyle. It might take, being closer to family, or starting a small, community garden, which he uses as an example. So you can work on something healthy with a group of like-minded individuals. Changes in work, how you structure your work, how your company structures it, etc. Lots in that book. I'll put it in the chat, but I highly recommend it. It was eye-opening for me. I think it's got a famous TED Talk as well.
Great. I'm definitely going to get that book.
It's so great. It kind of made me think, I want to be that guy. I just want to, I'm interested in studying these types of things as well, or at least studying other people's studies. And I'll talk to Laura Green about that. She's already on the survey train. Classic. I just learned that's a classic psychological experiment approach in my intro to psychology class.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Surveys. One of you take the lead. I'm going to turn to this other screen and type into the chat.
Yeah. See that John Grant's asking if we have any resources we like for people that are dealing with depression and anxiety during this time. And again, if we go onto the support staff website, there's a couple links for some COVID-19 information that you can navigate to find different things that are specific, might be specifically bothering you or providing you with a source of unease.
And if you're looking for somebody to talk to, Chicago recently during all of this has their own mental health resource, of which you can just text in and text to someone. Also, if you're looking for other people to talk to, and that one might be a little bit busy, because if it's the same platform as unemployment, then we won't hold our breath. But so there, I'm just kidding. Chicago, I think this mental health initiative is amazing, and thank you so much. But if you're looking for another couple apps like Headspace, Talkspace, things like that are offering free trials. There's a lot, and say talking doesn't work. There's a lot of gym platforms that are offering free virtual workouts. There's free yoga. There's a lot of apps that we also have on our website and that Kelvin touched on if you would like to try meditation. Jag, if there is something specifically that you were looking for that you cannot find on our website, just email us, because we have resources that aren't currently posted on the website yet. So we can also kind of guide you into the direction of what you are looking for, because everybody makes themselves feel better in other ways. So it's just kind of figuring out what helps you deal with anxiety, depression. And then also, I know it sounds silly, but maybe taking a moment and looking into yourself and realizing when these emotions come, why these emotions are coming. Just keep asking yourself, why do I feel this way? What is making me feel this way? Why am I angry? Is it really about this, or is it about a culmination of things? And then really kind of try to dissect where it's coming from, and then how to fix it from the source. Because usually, especially if people are feeling overwhelmed, it's a combination of things versus just one issue.
Yeah, and it's rarely is it some one thing you can turn a switch on. And,
right. Or very rarely are you going to find one thing that works. It's probably a combination of a couple new activities or hobbies or structural changes in your schedule that inevitably makes you feel better.
And this is why talking to a professional therapist helps, because they're trained in seeing these things, giving you options, helping you to reframe. Reframing is big. And they're, it's also nice to, if you have never gone to therapy, I know it can be scary, but it's nice to talk to someone who has no other connection to your life. You know, a safe space, a true safe space. You know, it sucks right now that you have to stare at a screen to see a therapist, but it's better than nothing for sure. You can do phone ones too. I highly recommend the telephone. I've really liked it in you know, when you get that screen fatigue these days, get on the old telly, just call. It's nice. But yeah, there isn't one answer for everyone. But look at those resources. I scanned them today, and there's some really good stuff. And I started looking for a new therapist early on in this. Contacted two, didn't like the response from one. Started talking to the other one, but I will say, you know, I've always wanted to tell people this, and I don't want to. Hopefully no one is an investor in this company, but I have a warning. I tried BetterHelp.com. I think it's BetterHelp.com, but that's like an online therapy portal thing. And I did it a while ago as for myself and also as research, like, oh, maybe I could recommend this to people. You know, how do we have cheaper, more accessible therapy? My experience with the therapist herself was great, but the company and the platform, I think, is predatory. One, they take most of the money, and the therapists themselves do not make very much money. I found that out through a separate email conversation with this therapist. And also, I've always wanted to share this with someone other than my wife, but I couldn't believe it. When I decided to stop BetterHelp, because I decided I didn't like what I was getting for the money. When I had tried to cancel my account, the only way to cancel it was to push a button labeled "Quit Therapy."
I don't like that.
Horrible.
I mean, that's just taking someone who's emotionally vulnerable and just preying on them to keep their money.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. So I actually don't care if you work for BetterHelp. If you do and you're listening, change that, or you know, I'm going to keep telling people not to use your service. Anyway, had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, spread that word. I hate that.
I couldn't believe it.
That's terrible.
Like, I'm not quitting therapy. I'm quitting your crappy service.
I'm quitting you. I'm not quitting therapy.
Yes,
you know?
I know that a couple people I know are using, so Northwestern University has student therapists that are currently studying, and so you can if I'm repeating something that's on your website, I apologize, but you can get very cheap therapy with these student therapists, and two people that I know that are dear friends are using it and loving it, so check into that. It's a good resource. And you're also helping a future therapist, you know, go through their clinical practice or whatever they call it. Go ahead, Max.
I just wanted to mention, like, if you are thinking about or wanting to explore the options of therapy, but the financial restrictions of your current situation are you find yourself limited, if you find a therapist of which you want to go see, or you seek out one of these resources, you can always ask for a sliding scale, especially if you don't have health insurance. So you can ask for a sliding scale quote, and it's dependent on the therapist. And they usually ask you, what is the amount of money that you feel comfortable paying? And we have several resources on sorry to keep pointing to the website, but several resources that you have therapists who are willing to take like as little as $5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's like, obviously, you know, you want to give as much money as you possibly can while being fair, because these therapists do need to make money, and 9 times out of the 10 they're seeing you at a very discounted rate because they believe in the cause. But I think that's a lot of times that people get really discouraged about how much how much all of these things are going to cost, whether it be like, working out more or buying plants or going therapy or reading books. It's all attached to a price level, but there's always a loophole. There's always a way around it,
And especially if you find someone that you're comfortable with.
100%.
From what I hear from a lot of people that are meeting new therapists is that they're not vibing well with that person, and you don't want to put yourself in that situation where you're not working with someone who's going to see you in the way that you feel like you should be seen.
Yes, and many people I've talked to that have a negative view of therapy didn't like their therapist, and that was my first experience, and I left that person and started seeing someone else. And then that person was like, I think you should see this person, and referred me to one of their colleagues who was a better fit. And then it was an incredible 2 years. So not finding the right therapist the first time is not a reason to stop the search, because it really is, you're right, Matt, it really is finding the right fit.
Finding a therapist is like dating. You have to like go through a couple until you find the right one.
Right.
And if you hit it first, like a nail on the head, which is very rare, like good for you, but don't get discouraged if you try to seek help and it's just not a good fit. I mean, that happens all the time, especially for marginalized communities.
Absolutely.
Especially.
And therapists themselves do not want to waste your time or their time either. They care about what it is they're doing and what the journey you're taking. So they want you to be with the right person. It's not advantageous for them to be in that relationship that doesn't work either.
Right.
You're not going to offend anyone by saying, I don't think this is the right fit. I highly recommend therapy, and it's not the only answer, but it's part of a thing. I shouldn't say this online. I'm going to get in trouble, but for a while, I'm going to do it anyway. For a while, I was saying, we're talking about free healthcare and healthcare for all, but I think if we started with free mental healthcare for all, I wonder where we would go as a society. It'd be interesting.
Well, it's often overlooked, and I think that in the past couple of years, mental health has definitely come to the forefront of a lot of big important conversations. But there still exists a kind of stigma about it, even when talking amongst friends. I talked to a friend the other day, and the first thing they said to me was that they're sorry for burdening me. And
wow, yeah.
And that's not what it is. It's not a burden. It's important that you can express what you're feeling and make those moves. And it's also important to make sure that the person that you're talking to has the emotional wavelength and space to like handle what you're talking about. But you shouldn't be forced or be told that you should feel bad about how you're feeling.
Agreed. And that's an advantage to therapy, is that you're paying the person. And
Exactly.
that can seem like, oh, that's a bad thing, like this isn't real, but it's not. It's that it relieves you of the feeling that you are a burden on this person. That's the great benefit in my mind. I can say whatever I want. I'm not judged. It's a private space. I'm free to explore and get an unbiased opinion. It's better.
I think that's the best part for me, is the unbiased opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I guess I've never really considered a therapist having biases, but they do somewhere. But at least not a personal thing with you. It's easier on your relationship, or can be. If you're not always unloading on your relationship partner.
Well, and it's easier, especially when we're all like working, to kind of create this circle of which everyone around you is doing the same thing. So it feels normal and it's fine. So it's nice to have somebody there to like put it in perspective. Like, no, that's not that's not okay.
Right.
Clopening 3 days in a row is not okay.
I agree.
like things like that, you know? Because sometimes I think it's really easy to get caught up in this rat race of all of it and be like, no, I'm doing it. It's good. And sometimes it's nice for somebody to just force you to hit the brakes and kind of reevaluate what something looks like.
Well, especially when it gets into that competitive nature, like, oh, I worked 12 hours today. How many did you work? It's like, maybe you should work less hours today.
Yeah.
Take a nap.
Take a nap. Anyone been taking naps during this? I'm serious. Naps are...
I took one yesterday. It was pretty nice.
Naps are amazing.
Yeah.
Do some research on the research on naps. It'll make you want to nap.
Ask anyone who attended my birthday party last year. I don't nap. I just sleep through things.
You're saying you've been getting much better sleep through this, so that's great.
I have, yeah.
I'm gonna just sneak in the background some nappy piano music that I made a while ago.
Ooh.
I was telling Magro something that, I'm lucky that I have a keyboard and I've gotten shit out that way, but I may release this stuff. I basically, like, in the first month and a half of this, I was, Sophie would usually go to sleep before me, and I would light some candles, which, man, if you have candles or you can get some, get them. I forgot about candles. Really nice to turn off electric light and just improvise and play music. And I would hit record if I felt like I was in the right place. And I looked back over these recordings, and they were obviously time stamped with when they were created. And I saw like March 23rd, 2 a.m., March 25th, 12 a.m., March 27th, 9 p.m. or whatever. And I was like listening to them, and it was like a map of my processing via music, which was really weird to see, but sort of like a musical journal. But so I've thought about that. I think writing down your feelings, journaling is good.
Yeah.
Plinking around on an instrument. You don't have to know how to play it. It's good for your brain to kind of, put movement and sound together. Dancing. Seen a lot of dancing videos online.
Amy Probasco and Callie Kroom have been doing digital dance classes, and I love them.
That's awesome. I've seen the like the previews of those. I haven't checked one out yet. I got to do it. I had Sophie and I had one two-person dance party in our house once during this. That was awesome. So what are they doing?
So like Callie's doing more like conditioning and ballet stemming things, and then Amy and hers are later at night. I believe they start at 5 o'clock, and Amy's are Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1:30, and she'll like change her theme. Like last week was 90s, but she's doing more like hip hop. Nice. Contemporary, but it's also all geared towards getting your blood pumping, getting a little cardio, especially on Fridays when I tune in. She likes to do a little bit more cardio on Fridays, but music's always on point. And I mean, awesome. Like both of them are amazing people, high energy in it. And I know that they teach classes on the side. So it's always nice to kind of see your friends in a different light and do what they do that makes them happy,
Yeah, I can hear the excitement in your voice, even just talking about it, which is awesome. And that reminds me of something that my lovely wife reminded me of yesterday. She pulled up a Tim Ferriss quote. Love Tim Ferriss. He's sort of a life hacker, self-hacker. Got a podcast too. But anyway, she pulled up a quote from him that was basically like, focus on what excites you. What excites you right now? Even if that's, I don't know, vacuuming your floor. If something excites you, start there and see what happens. I thought that was a good reminder. And
that's great
sounds
advice.
like you're excited about dancing. So dance it out.
Well, and I think like kind of what you're saying with your music and a kind of audio journal as it was, like I hadn't really thought about journaling as something to do, but I feel like that might be helpful for a lot of people because then you can find the things that were actively making you feel enjoyment. Because I like for me personally, time right now has gotten a little slippery.
Yeah.
So having a way to look back and specifically see the things that were happening that made me feel better, I feel like could be helpful for me to like help balance my self-care.
Yeah, and it also might make you more aware that time has passed, you have changed, you know, in whatever small way. Like I feel different today than I felt on March 23rd. I can tell by listening to that song. Had I written something, I think I've made a couple of journal entries, but my sister's journaling every day. She said it's been really helping. I went through a short period of time in my life as a more of an adult. When I was journaling every day, I was reading the book The Artist's Way, which I highly recommend for all humans, not just people who call themselves artists, because we're all creative beings and that's what it's really about. But she starts, the first assignment is just you wake up and you journal for 10 minutes. It's an old thing that so many people have told us to do since we were kids, or at least me. Not everyone's been told to journal, but if you haven't tried it, it's amazing. You don't have to say anything. You can write the word fuck over and over on a piece of paper and it can help. I've done that.
I mean, any way of getting it out at some point, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
A healthier way of getting it out. And sometimes your brain feels clearer afterwards. One thing I've learned throughout meditation. Sorry, Matt.
Oh, no, I was just saying it's important to get that like mental clog out.
Yeah. And there's a lot of mental clog right now.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say about meditation?
It really has shown me, and I think does bring to light for most people, I believe, how much you're constantly bogged down by your own thoughts without realizing it. So meditation allows you to kind of realize how lost you are in your own thoughts. Just knowing that is a weapon. Nah, I mean,
yes, you're 100% correct. That's a great point.
It's a superpower.
Yes. Dropping bombs of knowledge over here.
Bombs of knowledge. Oh, I'm using other people's knowledge and regurgitating it. I believe I was thinking about this at 4 a.m. when I woke up after 4 hours of sleep. My brain was on. I was thinking curation is fine too. All we're trying to do every day is share like something we're excited about. You know, that's what I feel like social media, Instagram, everything is just like, hey, I'm excited about this thing. Check it out. Sharing is a really good thing. So most things,
especially now, because that's our form of community is we can't interact physically. So it's check out what I'm doing. Look at what I'm doing.
Right. And really it's a form of like, we're looking for a curation, a trusted curation of information. So I rarely say anything original. I'm just processing someone else's unoriginal data and regurgitating it, and hopefully it's useful. Spread the good. Well, we've been going for a long time. Do you guys, are we missing anything? You want to touch on anything?
No, I was just going to say, like, on the subject of sharing things, like, feel free to let us know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Put it on Instagram. Tag us. #CareTab.
I'm going to do it. I haven't done CareTab today yet.
All right. Well, no pressure. You've done so much for CareTab today. What do you mean?
Oh, this feels good. This doesn't feel like, I don't know what this feels lovely.
That's what CareTab is.
Yeah.
All of it feels lovely.
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
I'd love to end on like a Jeff. I just want to ask you two a question before we go. And no pressure if you're like, I don't know. But have either of you, do you feel like you've learned anything important about yourself throughout this process?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you say guess?
Slowing down is foreign, but it is okay. And that it's okay to return back to work not the same person that you were before. It's okay that things aren't going to look the same as they did before. That's just change and life. And I think what I've learned the most is how I love to hug people.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge hugger. And that's like something that I just genuinely can't wait to do. And it physically pains me. Sometimes I saw Matt dropped off some of his dough. And it like physically hurt me to like not embrace.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's really hard not to find out a lot of things about myself in this time, because I'm actively trying to utilize this time to kind of reevaluate. You know, I hit a milestone birthday last year, and like kind of reevaluate and do like a life check-in that I don't feel like I would have done before. And just like, what is important to me? What am I actively working towards, not only professionally and personally, and like, how do I take some more time for the things that mean the most to me?
Yeah. That's huge.
For me, I found that, you know, I feel like before when I was working, it was easy for me to like give up on things that I wanted to try and things that I wanted to do, because I would make myself believe that I don't have the time. So now I'm learning that like the biggest block to any of those like things that can help me grow is myself, and just, you know, keeping myself motivated to move forward and take these steps is a lot easier than I thought it would be if I just allow myself the room to do it.
Wow. Yeah. And then we've got the room right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you allow yourself the room.
We always do.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part. And so I think it's just important to recognize that.
Yeah. I often am I am the only thing standing in my own way, generally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a good thing to recognize. Yeah, I learned that a lot of the things I haven't done in my life, I think I haven't done them out of fear. I've learned that throughout this. I've really thought about why I haven't tried things, and I've been thinking about risk. And an old boss of mine that unfortunately took his own life. I was not trying to go down a negative path here, but he used to say there's no such thing as risk. You know, although he was a very troubled man, he also did so many things. He tried so many things because he was like, there's no such thing as risk. I don't know why y'all are afraid. Just try it. Just do it, which I thought was really cool. And I was thinking about the fact that I've stopped myself from many things out of fear of either failure, either fear of that it's not what I'm supposed to do, etc. So yeah, if you can allow yourself the space to just explore.
I like that.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I like that a lot.
I was thinking about that this morning, that as I was like kind of brainstorming on paper, that I don't want to go too deep into education, but we as young people we're supposed to choose, and as adults, like choose one path, choose a thing, instead of like, what if we could explore without consequence?
I think that's such a great point, because I remember like thinking, how could a 17-year-old quite possibly know what they want to do for the rest of their life?
Impossible. 40-year-olds don't know what they want to do for the rest of their life, and 65-year-olds are like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Right.
And that changes, and you're a different person today than you were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I'm a better person today than I was yesterday because of this conversation.
Oh,
I'm sure it's
I
just kind of like
agree.
unmediated, non-professional group therapy, which was nice.
It was. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kelvin.
Yeah.
Thanks.
This was fun. I'm glad that I have this digital space. Figured it out.
Well, thank you for sharing your space with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother Chris did a really incredible job with a lot of research for this too, and design, and kind of figuring out this software and teaching it to me. So thanks to him for that as well. It's nice to
Thank you, Chris.
it's nice to learn something when you got the time, even if it's just, I don't know, Google a word. Google a word.
Give yourself the room to explore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to you guys generously giving your time, your energy for all you're doing with support staff. Happy Giving Tuesday. Check out the links and check out those resources because it's a lot of valuable information on that page. Anything?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anything you want to say before we sign out here?
Yeah, guys,
No,
feel free to reach out to us with questions and anything. You know, if you got resources or questions or feelings, just shoot us an email.
Yeah, and take a moment this Giving Tuesday to focus on yourself and what you like to do and brings you joy. And if you have a second, share it with us at Please Hustle Responsibly on Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks, you two.
Thanks,
Thank
Cal.
you.
I'm going to crank up VG Bruce again, the song that's been playing underneath us for the entire show. Here's an original instrumental on repeat. Happy Tuesday, y'all.